Anyway, let's get another guest on now, Chris. I'm looking forward to this. We're going to speak to someone who's a championship expert, an EFL expert, someone we've had on the show before, and someone who has a great YouTube channel that's well followed and well loved. It's the wonderful Benjamin Bloom on the line. Hello, Benjamin.
Hello, guys. How are we doing?
Oh, very good. Thanks for coming on, because me and Chris, and I know Chris has been in touch with you, we've almost forgotten how great the Championship is, and we've brought you back in to just remind us how great it's going to be when Norwich are back in the Championship. Is it still as good as we remember?
Oh, absolutely ridiculous. I mean, just even going into tonight's games, we could have three different teams into one automatic place, two different teams into one playoff place, and we could have any one of 5 teams going down.
Wow.
It's absolutely mad, Chris, isn't it?
I was talking to somebody at Carrow Road last week, and I know we've had this conversation, Rob, and I think it's criminal, really, how little coverage the Championship gets, because we know how exciting it is, and when you're fortunate enough to have a year covering the Premier League, as we do, and concentrating on the Premier League, it's very easy to lose touch with what's happening in the Championship, because the Premier League just dominates everything. And then you look at it from time to time and you think, well, that looks good, and that's a big game. And I think, Ben, I'm right in saying that when the Championship returned after the lockdown, pretty much every team still had something to play for, didn't they, out of the 24, which is absolutely extraordinary.
Oh, absolutely. And then even going into tonight, we've still got, outside of that relegation picture, we've got 3 clubs with possible EFL sanctions that we don't even know when they're going to be brought against them, if they are brought against them. So you could have teams commiserating themselves on relegation tonight and then being saved by either Sheffield Wednesday or Derby being charged. But no, it's really, and that's the off the pitch stuff. But on the pitch, it's been absolutely incredible as well, as you can imagine, as I'm sure you're looking forward to next year.
Yeah, we're getting used to it. We're going to have to like it or lump it, really, aren't we? But just looking at tonight, Ben, and it's going to be really exciting. It really is. You know, I guess that most of the neutrals want Brentford to go up. I mean, that would be a hell of a story if Brentford get in the Premier League, wouldn't it? And you know, they've got a huge game tonight. They're against Barnsley, who have got their own worries at the bottom.
Absolutely. I mean, let's be honest. Looking at it, it's slim now. It's really, really in West Brom's hands at home to QPR. But it could be Brentford, and like you said, it could be done with good recruitment and no parachute money. So a lot of neutrals will be behind that in the battle with West Brom and Fulham. And then you start to get these crazy situations where you start to say, well, what if West Brom have got their game sorted by half time? Do the Brentford players then throw the towel in and then allow Barnsley through to avoid relegation? It starts to all become very interesting. And then, of course, no fans in the ground. Normally we'd have chants going up of, who's going up and who's going down. Will one team's players be feeding the other team's players information? Oh, you're not going up. You're not going up. You may as well stop trying now. It's gonna be a great night.
Well, in the other equation, and this is where me and Chris have got a vested interest, because a good friend of ours and a Norwich hero is, of course, Adrian Forbes, who's now the assistant manager at Luton. They play Blackburn, and Luton have done an amazing job at getting out of trouble since the restart, haven't they, Ben?
Luton have been fantastic, yeah. So they were the first team to move in the lockdown. Graham Jones was basically sacked with them saying, we won't be making an announcement until we know when football's coming back. But it looked, to all intents and purposes, at that point that they were going to bring Nathan Jones back, and that was all going to be done. They say never go back, but he's done superbly as well. And I mean, you talk about the neutrals' favourites. Remember, they've been battling with people like Stoke and Huddersfield and Middlesbrough, have all been in the Premier League or in the playoffs very, very recently. And then you've got Hull's sad drop from grace after they sold their 2 best players in January. But Luton, to be honest, given Charlton are away at Leeds tonight, well, you don't know what's going to happen there. Leeds could be on the beach. They're 8 points clear and champions now. But Luton might have the easiest game.
Absolutely. And, well, Chris, I think we want to know from Ben how Norwich are going to do next season. Now, Ben, we won't talk about who you support yet, but lots of people will know. But I know you're very impartial in these matters, and you're very much a representative of the EFL, and it's the football league that you love. How do you think we're going to do next season? Because I think Norwich fans, I think Chris, you'd agree, we're a little bit worried, aren't we, that there's going to be a hangover?
Well, yeah, I'm even more worried now because Ben's just gone through some of the teams that are towards the bottom of the Championship at the moment, and he's mentioned Huddersfield have battled against relegation. He's mentioned Stoke. He's mentioned Middlesbrough. He's mentioned Hull. And in my mind, I'm thinking, hang on, they were all in the Premier League quite recently. So it's not straightforward, is it? The idea that well, we've been through this before. We do know, really, but it's always worth reminding. You don't drop out of the Premier League and automatically do well in the Championship, do you?
No, you don't. However, most of those teams you mentioned have either sacked 1, 2, or even more managers in that time, or made some very iffy decisions on ownership levels. In theory, this should be very simple for Norwich. I know this is the Championship and it's not very simple, but they had the miraculous promotion. Up they go. They've banked the money. They keep the sporting director, they keep the manager, they hopefully keep as many of the good players that they've got. Obviously, some will be sold, that's for sure. And in theory, the pattern of play that Norwich executed in 2018-19, if they get anything close to that, they'll be promoted again. But we know the Championship doesn't work like that. And what we're going to find out is we're going to find out a lot about Norwich's 2018-19 season, and particularly we're going to find out whether it was the pattern of play and Daniel Farke, or whether they had some outstanding players propping that team up. In respects of, I'm talking about Buendia, Pukki and Aarons, whether you get the situation whether one of those players leaves and it exponentially affects the team because they were, an incredibly vital cog in it, or whether it was, as I probably think is true, a well-coached team with an excellent pattern of play, and they can survive that. I've said all along, guys, 5 people at Norwich, if you keep 3 of them, you'll be promoted. Webber, Farke, Aarons, Pukki, Buendia. I think if 3 of them are still there when we kick off, I think Norwich will be promoted.
That's a good way of looking at it. I like that. Yeah, and certainly Emi Buendia, he really has got the rule over the Championship, so we're hoping he stays because he really is great there. Look, just before we let you go, Ben, we know you're an Ipswich fan and we don't mind. You're a friend of ours, so we love having you on. But how is it going down there? Because obviously we always keep an eye on him, and because of Paul Lambert being there, we can't quite believe he's still there. I mean, fans are kind of still behind him just about, or is it going to be another tough old season for you to stick behind Paul Lambert?
COVID came at a good time for Paul Lambert. That's not me making light of a worldwide pandemic, but the games before the lockdown, there was a definite something in the air of, it was, I think, 4 defeats going into the lockdown. Look, I've not seen any evidence that Ipswich are playing well or, have something looking good going forward under Paul Lambert yet. I hope that changes. But even when we were up at the top of the league and winning all those games, there was still a little bit of a sense of we flat-track bullying some of these teams. Are they just not going yet? And it was 1-0 wins and things of that nature. So, look, I dare say if 15 to 20 games into next season, Mr. Lambert is not in the top half of League One, I think he may not be long for this world in terms of Ipswich. And can I just quickly mention on your Norwich wingers with end product, you mentioned Huckabee and Edie. You missed out another Ipswich boy, Rule Fox, who was definitely a Norwich winger with end product.
We're denying he was an Ipswich boy, mate. He was Norwich through and through. Come on, Foxy.
He went to school at Whitton, didn't he? Come on.
Yeah, but he came to the good side. No, he was legendary. We love Foxy, absolute legend, and he's still down there, I think, isn't he, doing boot camps and all stuff like that?
Yeah, great player as well. And then did one of the few players. I mean, I don't know about the Norwich end, but certainly he's not a lot of players leave Ipswich, but very few kind of go on and then do well afterwards. Often they've been a big fish in a small pond, and he certainly had a great career after with Newcastle and Spurs after Norwich, didn't he? So always good to get a Rule Fox mention in anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, we're happy with that. He's one of our legends, definitely. Yeah, don't matter where he's from. He played for us. That's the main thing. Now, Ben, we really appreciate you joining us, mate. Just give a quick plug to your YouTube channel, because lots of Norwich fans will be tuning in next season.
Yeah, I had a really good rapport with Norwich fans. I mean, there are the odd ones that can't get over the fact that I support Ipswich, but generally the ones that I mean, it was easy for them to like me because I was saying such nice things about the excellent team in 2018-19, and you know, everyone likes to hear nice things said about their football team. But please subscribe. Just type Benjamin Bloom into YouTube. We'll be covering the Championship and possibly the 1000th Norwich promotion out of it next season.
Brilliant. Great stuff. That's Benjamin Bloom, a YouTuber and friend of the show and EFL expert, Chris. And I like that. I feel as if I'm ready for the Championship now. Do you?